Hello viewers, welcome to Mate TV. The Tribunal has given the INEC the permission to reconfigure the BVAS machine. According to INEC, it will take 5 days to reconfigure the BVAS machine. In that note, the INEC has postponed the gubernatorial election, which is to hold on the 11th of March to 18th of March, so they can back up the data on the BVAS machine before reconfiguration. Professor Abiodun Adeni of the Base University was asked if the people can still trust INEC reconfiguration and the certified true copies of the results, because it was the same INEC that issued two different certified true copies in the Osun Election Tribunal case from the same BVAS.
I think the complication is coming slightly because INEC is severally shooting itself on the foot, by poor messaging. Sometimes the messaging is not timely, and sometimes when you think it is timely, the words are clumsy, the thoughts are disjointed, and of course you have to labor very hard to identify, what the information they are trying to put across, with every due respect. Like the postponement they just announced overnight yesterday, which seemingly fit into the kind of item that will stop press, was somewhat plausible, but you have to read and reread that message before you understand what they are talking about. But first of all, maybe we should put things in context. This is not the first time we're going to see postponement. We saw it in 2019 in the build-up to the presidential election, but massively it didn't happen in the build-up to this version of the same election. But again, it's coming in the middle of the election where we're having a 1 week extension. So many things model up, so many things coming up. And some reasons have actually been genuinely adduced. One is the need for parties to inspect materials as they are severally asking for, which is okay. And the second is for INEC to reconfigure the BVAS. And reconfiguration, again, that's the point about information. I'm not sure it's been properly communicated. It's not necessarily about tampering with the details in the machine, maybe details embedded in it, with the presidential election, but it's just about making it fit into the next election, the next round of election, which is the governorship and National Assembly and State House of Assembly election, going by the way the machine works. But I dare say that, it does seem as if we're not getting it, we're not having proper understanding of how this equipment work, and that's the bane of the process, really, from what I can understand from my own little corner. So I think maybe some more explanations, some more timely, appropriate information, and maybe some more proper organization of thoughts will help the populace, especially in a situation where we live in a country where there's a huge deficit in trust, and when it concerns election, the deficit is even double or even multiple, as the case could be. Rufai, Dr. Bachi, and I.
Is it poor communication and information that is the problem of the INEC? Because it was the same INEC that said the results will be transmitted via the BVAS machine, and also in the Osun Election Tribunal case, INEC gave two different certified true copies from the BVAS machine to both the APC and the PDP.
Yeah, but I think with the fact that the tribunal has actually given all of them their requests, has granted all their requests, permitting them to do the inspection, which is also a very reasonable thing to do in the interest of transparency, in the interest of proper adjudication, as the case could be. And with this extension, INEC itself now has more time, to put their acts together, maybe to do the configuration properly, as the case could be, because of the argument in their release is that they don't have enough time to prepare for. They don't have enough time to prepare for it, to do the configuration in the build-up to the governorship and State of Assembly election. So now that with one week ahead, of course, more time is available to them. Ordinarily, if they know what they are doing, if they are concerned about productivity and efficiency, so they have more time. So we should expect improved performance. And of course, maybe when the election proper come, we expect that the kind of problem we had with the presidential will not rear its head again. Yes, people will be duly accredited with BVAS, and of course there will be instantaneous rendition of results, uploading of results onto IREV. In the interest once more of transparency and accountability, and the controversy we witnessed, or that we are still witnessing, leading to several litigation, will not arise again, even though we know that it's very difficult for us not to have post-election litigation. But overall, I think it's not a terrible thing, for the extension that is, but what we have to keep saying or keep admonishing INEC about is to be concerned about messaging. In the build-up to the general election, they did well, but they dropped the ball in the thick of the election, which we are now going through. So we'll do well, they will do well, they will help themselves if they try to improve on this call.
Okay, I'd like you to comment on the increasing role of the judiciary in all of this. We know that dispute resolution, election petition, is at the end of every major election. But it looks like this 2023 process is likely to be determined more by the judiciary rather than by the people. As of the last count, we have about 94 senior advocates of Nigeria who have been lined up to do battle at the Presidential Election Petition Tribunal represented by the Court of Appeal. So when all is said and done, will it be possible to say that this process is a true reflection of the will of the people? Because whenever the gubernatorial and houses of assembly elections hold, there will still be more litigations, and their lordships are overstretched already. And SANs are, well, don't let me say they are, smiling to the banks.
The SANs are busy. I think they simply be safer to say that, Dr. Abati. They are busy.
That's a better way to put it.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, I think it is still part of the character of our democracy, really, for us to let things go, rightly or wrongly. Sometimes we may have to try not to be unfair to those who feel legitimately concerned about being cheated in an election process, But sometimes it's also about making sacrifice, about letting things go in the interest, when you look at the bigger picture, in the interest of peace and progress. I think it is still character of our democracy, to fight it all out, and that's why we have had arguments in the past about whether we should continue with this winner-take-all approach, the American presidential system, where the winner would take all. Arguments around why can't we be a little more creative, a little more ingenious, and allow our democratic practice to reflect our culture, as our culture is largely communal, concerned about sharing, not too friendly with somebody who just wants to sit out there and take it all and share it only among the friends without looking at, the sharing without looking elsewhere. And the sharing we're talking about is not necessarily, largesse, but of course responsibility, as the case could be. So that's part of our bill, and because people feel that they are losing out once they lose election, they want to be vociferous, tenacious about fighting it, leading to this several resource to court. That's one argument. But the second argument is the concern that sometimes when the judiciary will have to decide for us, it takes away the power of the people, because that's where legislation should rest. And I think it was President Goodluck Jonathan that suggested at the time that rather than outright intervention, judicial intervention such that they decide who leads us, the best they could do most times is to probably just ask us to go back to election, so that the legitimacy, will once more be drawn for the people and not necessarily from a few men sitting and deciding for us. But again, the problem with that again is that if you go back to election, what is the guarantee that the outcome will once more be satisfactory? So at some point there has to be what do you call it now? You have to bring a closure. Think about that closure. It's attitudinal, really, getting to the people contestant participants to understand that there's no point being downhearted. At some point, you have to be noble, you have to be salutary, you have to rise above the fray, you have to be sacrificial, you have to let things go, with due respect, giving respect to the cause itself, the fact that you are contesting for some altruistic reason because of a service to the people and not service to the self. And if for once, you are losing it, do not be downhearted about it, think away from it, get back to some other businesses, and that's why some people say we'd rather have politicians or technocrats, in politics and not people who are naturally, professionally politicians. So this kind of reconfiguration, attitudinal reconfiguration, would rather help us, and it will take time. Maybe it will take time using or leveraging short and long-term mechanism. Short-term mechanism is for us to continue the conversation like this. Then the long-term one is for us to be concerned about a painstaking process of political reorientation, so that it can go in tandem with a democracy that is supposedly growing in terms of longevity, but not growing in terms of character and content. Dr. Abati.
I asked you a question earlier on, and I'd like to ask you that question again. Is the problem really miscommunication from INEC or downright suspect integrity based on hitherto espoused processing? Because I said something and you didn't address it, sir, Prof. I said, can you say boldly, since INEC in this letter has said to Nigerians that the political party will still go to their server, can you say boldly that the same INEC that gave 2 different certified true copies in the Osho elections will be able to give coherent certified true copies now? 2 different certified true copies. One was given to the APC, one was given to the PDP. That's the question I asked, sir.
Well, Rufai, I don't work in INEC, and I'm just an observer just like you. Probably I will not be definitive on the response I will give to that question, which borders about specificity. But all I can tell you is that, INEC can also do well, by improving on the quality of their communication, because this is a very critical agency that is now reflecting the overall deficiency we have with trust. The fact that we find it very difficult to trust ourselves as a people, because of the problem of trust that exists between agencies and the people as well. And INEC is occupying a critical position, that leads to the determination of those who get into power. The electionary process is a very sensitive one, especially in the trying democracy, where culture is largely prebendal, and of course where people just see that is a main source of livelihood, politics, and power. That is, and INEC is a key determinant in the process. So against that background, you expect that the only option left for them is to continue to do better, to up the ante with respect to trust building. That is probably leading to the kind of question you are asking. And I think that there are several integrity questions we have raised, several questions around whether or not they are hypocritical or not. One of them, recently reiterated by the PDP candidate, and several other issues really around whether or not the officials should resign or not. But it's going to continue, like I said. But again, the onus is always on them to up the ante so that we can trust them.
Professor Adeniyi, well, thank you very much.
So viewers, I want to get your thoughts on this issue. Do you think that poor communication and information is actually the problem of INEC, or is it something else? I want to get your thoughts on this. Please drop it down in the comment section below, and also please don't forget to turn on your notification and subscribe to this channel so you can get more updates as we drop them.